Let's just get right into it here. So you're about to mark your third year as
Yes.
Colonel. If you could, give yourself a grade on how you've done so far.
So if I could give myself a grade, I would say I am at a B+. There's a lot of things that I think that still need to be worked out in terms of just where we want to be operationally. I think we have done extremely well in terms of engagement with community, enforcement aspect of being able to go out and take care of our roadways. But there's other things that we can always improve on. So I would say that we're about a B+ right now.
And Colonel, that actually leads into a follow-up question here. Over the last 3 years, what would you say you're the proudest of?
One of the things that I'm most proud of is, so when we talk about procedural justice, there's things about that is the external part of it that leads into the community and making sure that you're taking care of their needs, but there's also an internal procedural justice. I think we've done a good job of balancing both, where we've done the external procedural justice and ensuring that we're hearing from our community members, being responsive to their needs, making sure that they have a voice, but then also doing the same thing internally with our staff, with our troopers, sort of making sure that they have everything that they need in terms of the resources to be able to go out and do the job. We've done a lot on the mental health side of things, ensuring that we are putting things in place that is going to help enhance the role that they're in and be able to provide them enough assurances that when they come in and if they don't feel like they are in the right mind space, we're doing things to make sure that we're helping them to frame that for themselves so that way they can move forward and do a good job out in the field. The more that we treat them almost as, in a sense, as performance athletes, the better they are going to be out there being able to take care of other people.
Interesting metaphor there, too, with performance athletes. Obviously, and it's no secret, this is a hard line of work.
Yes.
There have been reports that morale, not just with DPS, but really all law enforcement agencies have really taken a hit over recent years. What do you think is causing that?
Well, it comes back to public trust, right? I mean, some of it, stems from 2020, George Floyd, a lot of upheaval that happened during that time frame. We lost a lot of credibility during that time frame, but it comes back to still being able to garner that kind of trust and support that's needed. And instead of shying away from that, we have to engage our community. We have to talk about how the community wants to be policed as opposed to going in and telling them how they're going to be policed. So things of that nature is the reason why we started advisory committees to be able to have some of the various community groups to have a say, be able to have conversations with us, and to also understand exactly where the pain points are.
I believe you talked about helping troopers with burnout.
Yes.
How do you go about doing that? Because I feel like burnout is such a layered, nuanced thing. So how do you go about helping troopers who feel burned out?
Yeah, so there is a lot of nuances to that. One of the things that we've done is we started to pilot a program called Trulio, which is sort of monitoring the body-worn camera analytics. It monitors for disposition, tone, exactly how they're interacting with the public. Gives us a little bit of a feedback as to whether or not that trooper is starting to get to a place where they're burnt out. On top of that, some of the things that we've implemented in the agency was Vitania from Heal to Heroes. It's basically a monitoring system that they can go in before they start their shift. They have an opportunity to sit down. They're in a room with a screen that they put their hand on a cradle, and it actually sends a sort of an electrical pulse through the body, monitors the brain, gives them feedback, and a clinician gets on the screen with them and gives them feedback on exactly how they're doing that day, what things they need to be sort of mindful of. Are you getting enough sleep? Did you get enough water? And then on top of that, they get supplements that help to support their overall health. Because once you are looking at the whole person, you're looking at the overall health of the individual, they do a better job of being able to come in with a clear mind, clear conscience, and be able to do the work. So between that, Vitania, looking at certain aspects in 2026. We're starting wellness reprieve. When you get to 15 years of service or 25 years of service within the agency, you're going to be able to have a month off, disconnect from the agency, completely disengage. That way you can recharge your batteries, take time off, come back, be recharged, be replenished, and be able to come back into the job.
And is that paid time off?
Yes.
And how often could a trooper take advantage of that?
Only one time. So you get it once at 15 years, and then once you hit the 25-year mark, you can get it again. Because we know that when you get to those thresholds within your career, there's been a lot of things that you've seen over the course of that time, a lot of trauma that you've probably experienced. And these are some of the things that we're trying to do to provide and give back to those troopers to make sure that they're getting everything that they need to make sure they, again, it's about being able to address the whole self. We also have, and we're onboarded clinicians as well to be able to, check in with the troopers. We have chaplains, we have clinicians now. It's about being able to make sure that we're taking care of them. On our fitness center, we have several of them at different substations. We actually have nutritionists now. That have been onboarded in the agency so that when they want to look at, how do I change my diet? How do I improve my workout? How do I improve my conditioning so that way, I'm at my optimal best? Because it's not just about your professional development, it's your personal growth as well that we're concerned about too. So the better that we are able to, invest into the employee and ensure that they're getting what they need, the better person they are, the better professionally they'll be.
I want to pivot now to recruiting and retaining. This is something that has been publicized even before you got with the department. And fairly to say, other agencies are also struggling with that piece of how do we attract new folks and
Yes.
also how do we keep the ones that we currently have. I heard DPS currently is short 300 troopers. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Okay, 300 troopers. Why do you think DPS has had a hard time recruiting new troopers and then retaining current ones?
So I think that, when you're talking about DPS as away from other agencies, from your municipal agencies, DPS is very unique. It's different than most agencies. We are a statewide agency. So when you're trying to attract individuals coming into this profession, you could be pretty much located in any geographical location. So you get hired on, you could be here in the Metro Valley, or you could be down in Douglas, or you can be in Nogales, or you can be, placed anywhere. For some folks, that may be a turnoff because the nucleus of their family and their base may be here situated in the valley, and that sometimes is one of the challenges that we run into as it comes to recruiting. But we've done a very good job here recently where we've upped our numbers significantly. We have 33 recruits graduating today from our Trooper Academy. The last one we had 54. We're looking to increase our numbers as each academy session grows, and we're actually having less attrition now, less retirements. And I think some of that is due to, again, it comes back to that investment that we have with our employees. As we are investing more resources, providing them more resources and more opportunities to be able to really be effective and do a good job in the field. I think it also has a lot of value to those employees, and they're staying. And so we're seeing less attrition, more growth opportunities in terms of the people that are coming in and being hired on. And we are now at a point where we're seeing more hires and we're seeing more people leave. So that's a positive sign for us. And it's a positive sign nationwide because that is starting to become the trend at several different agencies across the United States.
Yeah, the trend line for DPS is good when it comes to bringing new folks on.
Yeah.
But what would you say to the folks who say it's not enough?
Well, I would say that it takes time. The aspect of being able to get good qualified candidates to be able to protect and serve and do this job, you want to have the best of the best, and you can't lower standards. That would be horrible. So I would say that it's about being patient. It took a long time to get to where you're at, when you have a deficit, and so now it takes a while to be able to crawl out of that deficit. And that's for any major police department across the U.S. is that everybody is now crawling out of the deficit, just like it was back in the 90s. In the 90s, it was the same thing. You had sort of a lull where you had a dip in numbers, and then by the end of the 90s, you saw an increase that came out of that, where a lot more people were starting to become attracted to the job again. And I think that that's going to be the case. It's always a pendulum.
So Jeff Hawkins, who I'm sure you're familiar with, is the president of the Arizona State Troopers Association. He had given an interview earlier this year where he said that it takes about $200,000 to train a new DPS trooper, and he said that about 300 had left DPS in the past 3 years. He calculated that to about $60 million, he said, was walking out the door. So hearing that large figure, $60 million, walking out the door, in his words, what's your response to that?
Well, I mean, you're going to, again, it's one of those things like from talking about just this, digging out of the hiring and recruitment trend, you're going to end up having people that, leave the job. Some of that is going to be due to retirements, a lot of it, because you have so many, as I talked about the upswing in the 90s, a lot of people from the 90s are still on the job and they're retiring, especially in the last 3 years. Many people retired. I had retired at one point in time and came back. And so we're seeing as a byproduct of a lot of individuals that have essentially done 25 to 30 years of service, and they're leaving, away from this profession. But it doesn't mean that everything is doom and gloom. There's a lot of positives to this. You're getting a lot of a new generation, a new breed of officer that are and troopers that are starting to come into this profession. And I think that it's good because you're seeing a lot of civic-minded individuals that are wanting to actually help. And especially at a time where you have so much that has happened between the polarizing incidents that that everybody has seen throughout the nation. You still have individuals that still want to be in this profession. And for those people, they badly want to do this job because, look at the stigma that sometimes is associated. Because of the fact that they want to do this job, we are still seeing good candidates come to the table. And so, we are taking advantage of that, and we're not just recruiting here in the Valley, we're recruiting all over the United States, bringing in people from all walks of life, a very diverse candidate pool to come in and be able to do the work.
Have you seen your numbers go up when it comes to people applying?
Yes, the numbers are going up. Like I said, the trend line is starting to go up, and we're starting to see really good candidates that are coming to the table wanting to be a part of the DPS organization.
I believe it was last year there was a 5% raise given by the legislature.
Yes.
What else needs to be done to help with recruitment?
Well, we appreciate Governor Hobbs and the legislators in providing us the 5% increase. I think in order to stay competitive, we still need to see more increases of pay and benefits. We want to make sure that we are keeping up with all of the local agencies, whether that be in the Valley or be in some of the other areas of the state, as well as just being able to be competitive with other states in general. As a state agency, we want to make sure that we are the premier agency that people come to, and so that keeps us very competitive with all of the other states as well.
Currently, how many troopers does DPS have?
So we have approximately almost 1,100 troopers right now in the field.
And you touched on this a little bit earlier, but obviously you're a statewide agency, so you have to cover all parts of the state. I lived in Yuma at one time, so there's DPS there. There's DPS in Window Rock. There's DPS in Mojave County. There's DPS in Cochise County, all over. How does DPS go about assigning troopers to different parts of the state?
Well, so the state obviously broken up in almost like three different areas where you have northern, central, southern Arizona. Part of it is density of population and where you're at. So you said you're from Yuma, and Yuma is one of those areas where it's growing. there's a lot of people down in Yuma. We have a big contingency of troopers in the Yuma, Tucson area. In fact, here recently, coming December 20th, we will be fully staffed in those areas, and we'll have 24/7 operations essentially. So from that hiring standpoint and the increased hiring, it's allowing for us to be able to make that improvement there, where we have enough troopers to be able to cover 24/7 in those areas. But it's based off of the calls for service and the need of those areas, and that's how we end up doing our staffing allocation.
So Jeff Hawkins also brought up another concern. I want to fact check this too with you. So he said that of Arizona's 15 counties, 13 don't have 24/7 DPS patrols, meaning that for part of the overnight hours, I believe he said from midnight to 4 or 5 a.m., there's no DPS presence in those 13 counties. Is that accurate?
So on paper, that would be accurate in terms of the fact that DPS has never had a 24/7 coverage in all 15 counties. But what we do have is partnerships. So if you have a major incident that occurs in one of those counties that doesn't have the 24/7 coverage, we have people that are available for call out. They're typically living there within that county, within that jurisdiction, and they respond out within 45 minutes to a collision. So there is that aspect of it. Plus, we have the partnerships of our sheriffs. The sheriffs within those counties work with us. They let us know when there is something that's going on. We partner with them very well. We have a great partnership with all 15 counties.
Going back a little bit, when you said you have partnerships from the folks aside from the sheriff's deputies, who are these sort of on-call troopers, or how would you describe those people?
Yeah, essentially on-call troopers that know that they would need to be readily available at any given point in time on those days that we would not have maybe overnight coverage or coverage during a certain window. And when we talk about a certain window, it could be a short window of 4 hours that you may not have that coverage, but they are readily accessible and available to be able to take calls.
And are these sworn troopers, or okay?
Sworn troopers.
Okay, so these are sworn troopers. Okay.
Yes.
I'll be honest, I was surprised by that. I didn't realize how that worked. I took a road trip last week through Monument Valley and parts of the Navajo Nation and came back late at night.
Yes.
And it just got me thinking, okay, at this point, you're saying obviously there would be these on-call troopers, and then there would be the deputies for each of these counties that folks are going through. But what would you say to critics who feel like there should be 24/7 DPS presence in all 15 counties?
Well, for anybody that criticizes that, I mean, they have to also look at the aspect. In some of these counties, they are not densely populated. There is not a lot of traffic or people on the roadway. So it wouldn't make sense to staff, certain areas at certain times. We are always responsive to the needs of the community. And we, ensure that, we have everything, covered, even when we are, not fully staffed. And so I would say that, the other thing is that if they, have that inclination of feeling that, there's not enough of that staffing, is to talk to the legislator, talk about the funding aspect of what needs to come into DPS in terms of ensuring that we are fully funded, so that way we can ensure that the staffing levels are increased.
Aside from salary, are there any other benefits that you can think of that would make this a more attractive job to a new recruit?
I think, what makes it attractive for those that are coming into this profession, especially those that may be a little bit older coming in, is that the benefits. A lot of people sort of don't really think about benefits, but the benefits are a really important factor, especially medical benefits. If you retire from this job, you go into PSPRS and you're having to pay for a certain amount of money for medical benefits. If you still have a family that's fairly young, you could be paying up to $2,400 to $2,500 a month, which takes a big chunk of your retirement. So being able to have some medical benefits that is comparable, or some type of an account that allows for you to be able to offset those expenses would be beneficial. I know that there are certain cities, Tempe had it in the past, they're talking about bringing it back from what I've heard. Mesa has brought that back into play for them. those are huge opportunities for people to take advantage of, especially as you get older in your career. Things break down, you have to go to the doctor. And so, those are also like concerns that, that you have, because a lot of people are, when they're retiring at in an age range where, you need to go and see the doctor.
Unfortunately, this week we have just seen a string of deadly motorcycle crashes. As we look into that, does that raise alarm bells to you to see this many crashes in such a short amount of time?
Well, it always does. Anytime that we see, crashes that lead to fatalities, it's very much a concern. That's part of our mission, is to be able to reduce those. And we have. We've reduced them year over year, past couple of years, 5% each year. This year, we're down about 10% in fatalities. Motorcycle crashes are a situation where obviously they don't have a lot of protection. They're not in a vehicle, but it also is incumbent upon, that operator to ensure that they are, doing everything appropriately and properly to ensure their own safety as well. Driving at high speeds, things of that nature, especially right now. It's holiday season, so you have a lot of impaired driving. So we also want to make sure that people understand that, during the holidays, use good judgment. If you're going to go out, you're going to go party and be entertained and take a few drinks, use a ride share. Come up with an alternative, carpool with somebody that's a designated driver, but think of something, to make sure that you're keeping yourself safe and keeping the roadway safe.
We don't have a helmet requirement for adults. Do you think we need to start requiring helmets?
It would be nice to have a helmet requirement. I mean, obviously there is, some protection there that allows for the survivability if somebody goes down in a collision. If it's high speed, not as much. So, it's incumbent upon the person to make sure that they're protecting themselves and being safe, but it would be helpful.
So you would like to see the law changed?
Well, whatever the legislators would do with that, and people that would lobby for that, we wouldn't be opposed to it.
Mm-hmm. You had mentioned a stat, I think you said deadly crashes are down 10%? Currently, is that just motorcycles, and what time window is that?
That's just all crashes.
All crashes?
Yes.
Year to year, or?
Yes.
Okay. What do you credit to that?
Well, I think it's really comes down to a better job of being able to understand exactly where some of our different areas where we have had historical fatal collisions, being more proactive on enforcement details within those areas. And also, advancement in technology. We can't discredit that. New vehicles that are coming out that have enhanced, features on those vehicles for passenger and driver safety, that's a big deal. So those are all things that factor into it.
In terms of immigration, what do you see as DPS's role in immigration enforcement?
So really, we don't have a role in immigration enforcement because we don't conduct immigration enforcement. DPS, the only time that we become involved in that aspect of enforcement is if we have a state crime. If there is a state crime that occurs and it sort of leads us down that path, then we work with our partners on the federal side to inform them that we do have somebody there's an immigration tie to it. That is their responsibility, and so we work with them on that. And then we work, very well with our federal partners here, in the state. I think pretty much most of the agencies have taken the same approach, is that when we do come across that, we will inform them and let them know, but it has to have that state crime nexus to it.
Because we've seen other departments, I believe in Pinal County, they just made an announcement that they're going to be helping more, and they're giving their officers more training to be able to report and whatnot.
Yeah.
Is that something that you would want to see DPS troopers do?
Well, no, it's just not our role and responsibility. We are focused on the mission of being able to keep the roadway safe, being an assist agency, providing the resources to other agencies when they need it. That gets beyond our scope. We are busy already with just the the aspects of our job right now. And to add to that would be more of a compounding the situation.
I want to ask you, so you grew up half in Compton, is that true, and then half here? Okay. How would you say your upbringing and your childhood got you to where you are now? How does it help you in your role?
Well, that's an interesting question. Because I did not have a plan on even ever going into law enforcement. It wasn't in my top 10 bucket list of things to do. It just so happened that I started working with the city of Phoenix many years ago in a program called the JDO program, and that was working with police officers. But I had started off on the Parks and Recreation side, got absorbed into their grant program for JDO, and started working with the police. But I would say that being able to have that both sides of the coin, where you've grown up in different neighborhoods and had an understanding of people's struggles, but then also getting involved in policing and understanding that there's a lot of nuances to this job, but there is a lot that can be given back in terms of compassion and kindness and being able to understand people and meeting them where they're at. That is something that I think that I have been pretty good at throughout my career, especially in the field. Being able to understand where people are struggling, and then being able to lead them down the right path to the resources that's needed, which is why I'm really big on community engagement. So that's a passion of mine, and that's always been a driving force behind a lot of the things that I do and what I implement in the agencies that I've worked in.
I saw on your LinkedIn page you were just honored with the NAACP Arizona Outstanding Leadership Award. Congratulations on that. You posted, this is a quote from you, you said, "This award belongs to every officer, community partner, and advocate who believes that trust, equity, and collaboration are the foundation of public safety. Together, we are proving that law enforcement and civil rights organization can and must work shoulder to shoulder and build safer, stronger communities for all Arizonans." That's a direct quote from you.
Yes.
Do you think you're accomplishing that right now? And if so, how are you doing that?
I think it's always a work in progress. Anytime that you're talking about, the trust of community members and policing, that will always be a work in progress where we have to earn that trust. And so we accomplish that by making sure that we're working with our various legacy groups, whether it be NAACP, Urban League, whether it be Chicanos por la Casa or any group that's out there, is that we have to make sure that we're accessible. I think the accessibility of being able to have conversations and to talk through the challenges that we are currently faced with. Recently we had a meeting with the Mexican General Counsel and the consulate, and it was a great conversation. We talked a lot about different aspects of enforcement and what that looked like, and what our stance was on immigration as well. And I think that you develop relationships and you build trust that way by just making yourself available and open to those conversations, and I think that's part of the work that we have to do.
Sure, because there are people in this community, especially members of our Black and brown communities, who don't feel like law enforcement always understands them. What would your message be to those communities?
Reach out, have conversation. I think that what they'll find is that we lean into those conversations. If they have concerns about different things, we're open to being able to share our experience, but then also to give feedback as to what we think is that we're seeing particularly in their area, but we want to hear from them because they're living that experience. They're the ones that have to be able to tell the story to give us an understanding of what that truly is. And then we base that off of, what I had talked about earlier about understanding and knowing, how people want to be policed as well. Because it's a give and take. It's a shared responsibility. It takes the community and the police working together to make sure that we're keeping our community safe, but we have to also hear from them too.
You broke barriers yourself as the first African-American colonel of DPS.
Yes.
What does that mean to you personally?
Well, I think for me personally, it means that there is that opportunity for somebody of color to be able to ascend to a position like this. It opens doors and it creates pathways for individuals that did not even think that this was a career option for them. Sort of like myself, many, many years ago in the 90s, I didn't think about this as a career path. But looking back, if I had saw somebody, in a position like this and saw them out in the community, it would have probably been a little bit more at the forefront of my mind as looking at this as an option.
The union had brought up some concerns with not having 24/7 DPS presence in all counties, and basically had said, if you want to smuggle something in Arizona, do it between these hours in these places.
Not a good
Okay,
advertisement.
so you're all right. So you're familiar with what he said. You said not a good advertisement. Yeah, what's your response to that?
Yeah, you know, we've done a phenomenal job. Operation Desert Guardian, which is something that the governor obviously had initiated, allowed for us to be able to pull together a lot of resources. And it's not just DPS. DPS is not the only entity in the state. We partner with not only our local and municipal law enforcement and county law enforcement officials. You also have a whole project with National Guard members that are working down on the border. There's a lot of people that are doing this work to do drug interdiction, and that's specifically the priority is the drug interdiction. Ensuring that we're interdicting smuggling routes as well as human trafficking. And the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, we've done a phenomenal job over the past several years of being able to interdict fentanyl as well as being able to stop human trafficking. And so I think that from that standpoint, you have to not look at it insularly where it's just a DPS operation. This is a combination of the sheriffs. This is a combination of the local law enforcement groups, even federal partners that are involved in all of these operations, and everybody is working to make sure that they stop this type of activity and crime from occurring. Where the challenges exist is sometimes some of these issues are not issues that are germane to the border. It's coming from different areas, but again, that's where the allocation and understanding exactly where we're staffing in dense populations to be able to stop the activity from happening.